Well, we all know that Christmas is supposed to be a time of joy, love, and celebration. But today we're looking at the most bloody or horrific disasters to ever occur on Christmas. From natural disasters to tragic accidents, these events remind us that even during the most festive time of year, tragedy can strike. Number 15. Charlie Chaplin. If we speak about legends who left a mark on the world, few shine brighter than Charlie Chaplin. But on Christmas Day 1977, the laughter he brought to millions was replaced by sadness as the world learned of his passing. At age 88, Chaplin died peacefully at his home in Switzerland, surrounded by family. Known best for his timeless character, the Tramp, Chaplin's genius lay in turning everyday struggles into unforgettable humor. With his bowler hat, cane, and unmatched knack for pantomime, he dominated the silent film era. But Chaplin was more than a comedian. His biting satire into The Great Dictator, 1940, mocked Hitler at a time when few dared, proving his art was as bold as it was funny. Chaplin's popularity was unmatched. A New York theater screened his films for nearly a decade, and Paris declared a public holiday for the kid in 1921. By the time of his death, he'd redefined cinema, leaving behind 80 films and an enduring legacy that continues to inspire. Number 14. Black Christmas. Now, this story from World War II isn't about an ordinary Christmas. In fact, it's about a Christmas that didn't bring peace, but destruction. Everything was going smoothly at the theater until the second act, when a light bulb malfunctioned and set a drape ablaze. Flames spread fast, licking the scenery above as panicked cast members rushed to escape. The audience, initially captivated by a dreamy waltz, soon turned into a frantic stampede as flaming debris rained down. The stage collapsed, the lights went out, and chaos reigned. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in the British colony of Hong Kong, the Christmas of 1941 looked bleak. The battle had been raging for weeks. Japanese forces advancing relentlessly cut off the city's water and power. By Christmas Day, with no hope of reinforcement, British Governor Sir Mark Young was forced to surrender. The bloody battle had claimed over 4,000 lives, leaving the city in ruin and marking the holiday with tragedy. Number 13. Indian Ocean Tsunami. On December 26, 2004, a massive earthquake hit the Indian Ocean, registering a terrifying 9.1 magnitude. This quake unleashed the kind of energy you'd expect from 23,000 atomic bombs. At first, the sea seemed calm, until the ocean started pulling back like something was brewing beneath. Little did anyone know, the true disaster was just getting started. The tsunami waves that followed weren't just waves, they were killers. At first, they were barely a foot high, harmlessly gliding across the open sea. But then, the ocean roared. Towering walls of water, up to 98 feet high, slammed into coastal towns, swallowing everything in their path. Homes, cars, and people caught completely off guard. With no warning system in place, over 230,000 lives were lost. The damage? A staggering $14 billion. This was the deadliest tsunami the world has ever seen. Number 12. Erzincan earthquake. The 1939 Erzincan earthquake wasn't exactly the kind of Christmas surprise anyone asked for. On December 27th, as the rest of the world sang carols and enjoyed leftovers, Erzincan, Turkey, was hit by a 7.8 magnitude quake that leveled entire villages faster than you can say, Silent Night. Over 32,000 lives were lost, and tens of thousands were left homeless, forced to face the biting winter with nothing but makeshift shelters and sheer determination. Instead of festive cheer, the sounds of Erzincan that Christmas were creaking timbers, cries for help, and the occasional, "Where's the roof?" Families sifted through the rubble, searching for loved ones and whatever scraps of hope they could find. It was a Christmas of survival, not a celebration. While the quake proved that Mother Nature doesn't take holidays, the resilience of Erzincan's people showed that humanity can endure even the harshest of trials, though it's safe to say they'd prefer a quieter holiday next time. Number 11. Ku Klux Klan. Well, some people are not good. It's normal. But some take it to a whole other level. Case in point, the Ku Klux Klan, founded on Christmas Eve, 1865. While most folks were celebrating the season of goodwill, 6 Confederate veterans in Pulaski, Tennessee, decided to create a hate group. Their mission? To resist Reconstruction and the push for Black equality through fear, violence, and intimidation. Under the leadership of Grand Wizard Nathan Bedford Forrest, the KKK unleashed terror across the South. They lynched, assaulted, and threatened Black Americans and their allies, becoming so violent that Congress passed the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871 to stop them. Although the Klan's power declined after Reconstruction, it resurfaced in the 1920s and again during the Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s. Even today, splinter groups persist, a chilling reminder that some people just can't let go of hate, even on Christmas. Number 10. Tangiwai train disaster. The Tangiwai train disaster is one of New Zealand's darkest Christmas tragedies. On Christmas Eve 1953, as families traveled to celebrate the holidays, Mount Ruapahu's volcanic crater quietly unleashed a deadly lahar, a torrent of mud, water, and debris that tore through the landscape. The raging flow destroyed a dam and severely weakened the rail bridge at Tangiwai. Unaware of the disaster, an express train carrying 285 passengers sped toward the bridge. The engineer spotted the destruction too late. Though his quick braking saved the rear carriages, the front of the train plunged into the icy Wangaihu River below. The scene was chaotic. Lit carriages floating downriver, screams for help, and the unforgiving waters claiming lives. By the end of the night, 151 people had perished in what remains New Zealand's worst rail tragedy. Number 9. The Italian Hall disaster. Imagine a room filled with holiday cheer. It's Christmas Eve, 1913, and the Italian Hall in Calumet, Michigan, is packed with copper miners and their families, enjoying a rare moment of joy amidst their grueling lives. Laughter echoes, children play, and for a moment, the hardships of life seem far away. Then, it happens. Someone yells, "Fire!" Panic grips the crowd. Families rush for the only narrow staircase leading out. There is no fire, but in the chaos, people push and shove, desperate to escape. The joyful celebration turns into a tragic stampede. By the time the panic subsides, 73 people, most of them children, are crushed to death in the stairwell. To this day, no one knows who shouted or why. The Italian Hall disaster remains one of the darkest Christmas tragedies in American history, a haunting reminder of how fear can steal joy in an instant, and the importance of safety in public spaces. Now, let's move to Number 8. Christmas Flood. This is the kind of Christmas story that makes soggy socks from Grandma feel like a blessing. On Christmas morning in 1717, while most people were still tucked in their beds, a massive North Sea storm decided to crash the festivities. The waters surged without warning, swallowing entire towns from Holland to Denmark and turning cozy homes into makeshift rafts. Families scrambled onto rooftops or clung to trees, battling relentless rain, hail, and winds that seemed determined to ruin everyone's holiday plans. The floodwaters rose up to 10 feet, carrying away livestock, homes, and tragically, thousands of lives. By the time the storm gave its final punch on December 27th, over 1,300 people were dead, and the landscape had been transformed into a watery wasteland. So, if your Christmas is feeling less than merry this year, just remember, it could be worse. At least you're not clinging to a tree, trying to outlast a flood of biblical proportions. Number 7. underwear bomber. It's no secret that going through airport security during the holidays is a hassle. But in 2009, passengers aboard a flight from Amsterdam to Detroit faced something far worse: a terrorist attack. On Christmas Day, Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalab, a 23-year-old Nigerian, attempted to blow up the plane by detonating a bomb hidden in his underwear. As the plane descended into Detroit, passengers heard a popping sound, like a firecracker. But that wasn't the end of it. Abdul Muttalab was soon engulfed in flames as the bomb malfunctioned. The fire spread to the plane's interior, but thanks to quick-thinking passengers, the flames were quickly put out, and the attacker was subdued. Investigations revealed that Abdul Muttalab had been radicalized by Anwar al-Awlaki and sought revenge for the deaths of Muslims. Though his plan failed, the 289 passengers and crew made it home safely for the holidays. A true Christmas miracle. Number 6. Iroquois theater fire. Christmas break often means trips to the theater, and it was no different in 1903. On December 30th, nearly 2,000 people, mostly ladies and kids, crowded into Chicago's Iroquois Theater for a matinee of the musical Mr. Bluebeard. What began as a cheerful outing ended in unimaginable tragedy. During the second act, a light bulb sparked a fire that quickly engulfed the stage. As flaming drapes collapsed and smoke filled the air, panic swept through the crowd. Theater-goers stampeded toward exits, only to find many hidden behind curtains or locked to prevent sneaking in. In the chaos, people were crushed, suffocated, or trapped by the raging fire. By the time it was over, 575 lives were lost, with more succumbing to injuries in the days that followed. Out of this horrific event came lasting reforms: visible exit signs, doors that open outward, and fireproof construction. But for those who experienced it, the memory of that Christmas disaster would haunt them forever. Number 5. Congo Christmas massacre. Every Christmas story isn't filled with joy. Few are as harrowing as the events in the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2008. As families prepared for the holiday, the Lord's Resistance Army, a violent cult, launched a coordinated attack across Haut-Uele province. Beginning on Christmas Eve, the LRA tore through villages, leaving a trail of unimaginable destruction. Over 600 people were brutally killed, many in ways too horrific to describe. Entire villages were burned to the ground, families were torn apart, and dozens of children were abducted, forced into a life of violence as child soldiers. Women faced unspeakable sexual violence, and survivors were left with little more than grief and hastily dug graves for their loved ones. For those affected, Christmas became a haunting reminder of the LRA's cruelty. Even today, the scars of that massacre endure, a chilling testament to the human cost of unchecked terror and the resilience of those left to rebuild. Number 4. Star Wars Holiday Special. As the old saying goes, you can't force a square peg into a round hole. And that's exactly what happened when George Lucas tried to shove the Star Wars into the holiday special mold. In 1978, Lucas thought it would be a great idea to gift the world with a Star Wars holiday special, but what followed was a cringe fest that no one saw coming. The plot revolves around Chewbacca's family, his wife Mala, father Itchy, and son Lumpy, celebrating Life Day, a Wookiee holiday. The special kicked off with a lengthy 10-minute conversation in Wookiee speak with 0 subtitles. Viewers were left baffled. To top it off, there were weird guest performances, including one involving actress Diahan Carroll and Chewbacca's grandpa, Itchy, that was awkwardly sensual for a family special. The response? Universal rejection. Lucas hated it so much that he reportedly said, "If I had the time and a sledgehammer, I would track down every copy of that show and smash it." Number 3. Beagle 2. Spacecraft lost. Well, sometimes what you plan for doesn't quite turn out the way you expect. In 2003, the European Space Agency launched the Mars Express orbiter, which carried the Beagle 2 spacecraft with it. The goal was for Beagle 2 to land on Mars and open its panels on Christmas Day. But things didn't go as planned. Mars Express reached Mars orbit in December, and on December 19th, it deployed Beagle 2. As it descended toward the Martian surface at over 12,000 miles per hour, it was equipped with a parachute and airbags to slow its fall. Upon landing, 4 solar arrays were supposed to unfold, allowing communication with Earth. But when Beagle 2 failed to make contact, scientists feared the worst. After years of work and millions spent, Beagle 2 was declared lost. It wasn't until 12 years later that NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter discovered that Beagle 2 had indeed landed, but its panels had failed to deploy properly. Number 2. Library of Congress burns. Well, you've probably heard the saying, "A room without books is like a body without a soul." It's true, but imagine an entire library, stripped bare of its soul. That's what happened on Christmas Eve, 1851, when a faulty chimney flue set the Library of Congress ablaze, and as some people say, flames engulfed the collection, destroying 35,000 of its 55,000 volumes, including nearly 2/3 of Thomas Jefferson's prized library. It was pretty destructive and disturbing. The collection, donated to replace books lost during the Capitol burned in 1814, tragically met the same fiery fate. The warning signs were there. Back in 1825, an unattended candle nearly caused a similar disaster, but Congress decided fireproofing was too costly. Fast forward to 1851, and that penny-pinching decision came back to haunt them. Despite the devastation, the Library of Congress rose from the ashes, reopening in 1853 with fireproof materials in place. It's a cautionary tale of short-sightedness, but also a testament to rebuilding smarter and stronger. Number 1. The USSR invade Afghanistan. On Christmas Eve 1979, as much of the world celebrated in peace, Afghanistan faced a new chapter of despair. The USSR launched a full-scale invasion under the guise of stabilizing a faltering communist government. In reality, the operation was anything but stabilizing. It began with Soviet special forces storming Darul Aman Palace, assassinating Afghan President Hafizullah Amin in a brutal coup. From there, the invasion unleashed a torrent of destruction that would ripple for decades. Scorched earth tactics, relentless bombings, and landmines shattered Afghan society, displacing millions and leaving a trail of devastation still felt today. The conflict became a proxy war for Cold War powers, with the U.S. arming Mujahideen fighters in a fierce battle against Soviet forces. Over a decade, hundreds of thousands of Afghan civilians were killed, and their homeland was reduced to rubble. What began as a covert operation spiraled into one of the USSR's most prolonged and disastrous conflicts, a grim reminder of the cost of war. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.